Right, excellent. In this lecture, we will dig deeper into text files and CSV files in particular. But before we do that, let's do a deeper comparison between plain text files and flat files. Plain text files and flat files both contain non-formatted text. In a plain text file, each data value has been stored on a separate line. In this case, there are no characters that have to act as separators to indicate separate values. For instance, a plain text file containing the average monthly stock price of a company shall store each monthly value on a separate line. Now, having values on a separate lines is clear to the human eye, but not really essential for a machine. Therefore, we also have flat files. A flat file resembles a plain text file, with the difference that the data has some type of separator to separate the values. Such a separator can be a comma, a tab, a semicolon, etc. The idea behind having a flat file is that these separators help form a structure that corresponds to a single data table. In other words, a structure corresponding to a data stored in a tabular form. And this is the traditional type of data structure you will encounter most of the time while doing analyses, even when you are working with big data. The most common example of a flat file is the CSV file, a type of file you will definitely have to deal with in your practice a lot. But what does the acronym CSV stand for? Typically, comma-separated value. And I say typically because this term has become so popular that it's used to designate also character-separated values, or delimiter-separated values, and these are all conceptually different. To clear any confusion, let's explore the definitions of these and other related terms. First of all, we said that a flat file, such as the CSV, contains a separator to separate the values. This can be a comma, a tab, or a semicolon, remember? You will most often hear people talk about the comma-separated value format, implying that the values in your dataset have been separated by a comma. In reality, though, this term has become so diffused that it comprises also values separated by other characters, thus being called character-separated values. So, instead of a comma, we can have a semicolon or a tab. Apart from that, you may stumble upon another term, delimiter-separated values, or DSV. That sounds confusing on its own already, even before I tell you that a delimiter and a separator are not the same thing. Delimiters are a bit different from separators, as they are not exactly intended to separate the values. Actually, their function is to define distinct fields like cells in a row or rows in a table. In this way, any delimiter is a separator, but a separator may also be just a space separating two words, although they both belong in the same table cell. If that's not confusing enough, there is also the tab-separated value format, TSV, which is a type of a DSV and is also being used in practice. At the end of the day, it is really important to be aware of the way in which your values have been separated or delimited, and to be able to properly transfer your dataset from a text file to another program, such as Python. Only then can you proceed with your analysis smoothly. In case of conflict or issues, data engineers are the ones who will typically give you a hand. In conclusion, let us make a quick reference to relational databases. The idea is to respond to threads and discussions you may find online about flat file databases and comparisons between flat files and relational databases. In a nutshell, a relational database typically contains multiple data tables that relate to each other in a certain way. So, considering what we discussed earlier in the video, it turns out that a flat file corresponds to a single table from the relational database. So, if you encounter the term flat file database, please remember that it denotes a relational database composed of a single data table. Then, although it is beyond the scope of this course to explore the topic further, be aware that relational databases build upon the functionalities of flat files and the potential relationship between them to provide more flexibility and consistency of your data. If necessary, perhaps now is the right time for you to enjoy a minute or two to rewind some parts of the video to make sure you've internalized the terms we introduced in this lecture. If not, see you in the next one.